Good evening. I hope everybody's doing well today, and I hope that you've had a good week. It's been a few days since I've been on. We've had a good service last night, first service back. We had about, 30-something people in church, which was great for being a pop-up service. It was also a send-off for Brother Nick Stelzig that will be having the first Sunday morning services at Community Baptist Church on Sunday. Now, you might notice I'm wearing this shirt, Lifeline Baptist Church, and you can read it, and it's not backwards. And the reason for that is that the t-shirt is actually backwards. And one of our guests at church who's been visiting with us since the virus came, he was driving by and saw a few cars in the parking lot, and he pulled in. He's like, "Hey, are you guys having church?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Can I come?" I said, "Sure." And so Tom's been visiting with us, and we're very thankful. He made up a few of these shirts. Actually, I don't know what happened, but he said that he didn't really expect it, but he got a bunch of them. And so if you want one, backwards Lifeline for lives, I've got a bunch of them, actually. So anyhow, I got three different, they're all the same design, but different colors, and I purposely chose the green one tonight because I'm wearing green shorts, but they're two different tones, and it about gave Jen a heart attack, and so I purposely chose that. But anyhow, tonight I want to talk about adjusting to going back to church. As I mentioned, we had our service last night. It was a blessing to see people, and it was nice to have something for the Stelzigs. Of course, it was very simple and nothing extravagant at all, really. Really not what we had planned, but given the circumstances, it was as best as we could do. And but it didn't take me long to get into the service before I realized that our atmosphere was just a little off. Not what we were used to, not what I was used to for Lifeline. We were a little flat, and just a little uptight, and I got to thinking about why we were a little off, and we did warm up. It took by the end of the service, it was good. But why did it take it wasn't the normal church, and I got to thinking about it. Is that, man, talk about a ton of adjustments, just a ton of adjustments. I heard somebody else say how discouraged they were about their first indoor service with all the protocol in place, and they were very discouraged. And I wasn't discouraged, but my mind harkened back to what the person had said, and I got to thinking about all the adjustments that people are going through and how that can affect you. And we got to work through these adjustments. And so people that haven't come Sunday, there's several of you who are coming that have not been to church yet, and you're thinking you want back into what you left 2 months ago, and it's not exactly how that's going to be, all right? And allow me to elaborate, but first I want to say that all these adjustments are easily overcomable through the power of the Lord. In Philippians chapter 4 verse 13 says, I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me. So that means I can adapt to the various things I need to adapt to, and we're going to talk about that for a couple minutes today, of what you're going to have to adjust to and how you're going to do it. So, a couple things. First, you got to adjust to getting ready for church again. Just the simple process of getting up and getting ready and getting to church on time. And most of you have been used to sitting on your couch in your pajamas, drinking your coffee, watching church for the last 2 months, and that's been great. But the reality is now you got to get up and get ready and get going, and that's a change. And so you're going to feel rushed, particularly those of you that got kids. And also the challenge is because we had to move. We're doing the way Lifeline's doing is we're having two services that are the same service, 9 and 11. And so normally we'd have a 10 a.m. Sunday school. So now we're backing that up an hour to 9. So now if you're coming with kids at 9, man, you really got to get going. And so that's an adjustment. But that's just the beginning. Then you show up and you got to wear the masks in the service. And, let's just be up front. No one likes them, Okay? No one's like, oh, yay, I'm so excited. I get to wear a mask. Now, you can get nice, fancy, glittery ones like my wife did, and she's trying to look as fashionable as she can, and she looks great in them. But at the end of the day, no one enjoys wearing the mask, but we tolerate them because we have to. And the more you wear them, the more you'll become tolerable of them. But after a while, they are uncomfortable. You have a hard time breathing. It's very important that you just kind of slow, regular breaths. It's more of a head game than a physical thing. But what happens is because you're wearing that mask, people are less apt to speak, okay? And so masks, though, however, have altered the service. Now, everybody's going to do this differently. Lifeline Baptist Church is not going to have, at least in phase 1, congregational singing. There's 2 reasons for that. First, before you have any pastor listening, and before you have your people sing a congregational song with a face mask on, I recommend you put one on and sing it yourself first, all right? And I did that, and I was like, no, not doing it. It's just, for me, I was like, man, that'll wear on people real quick. Secondly is for anybody that is on the fence of coming to church and has some concerns about health, and the face mask is meant to cover anything that comes out of your mouth, and you're forcibly trying to push more out. It just gets in people's heads. So for phase 1, we opted not to do that. Now, what that does is it means that we not only are adjusting to Mass, not only are we adjusting to getting ready earlier, but now we're adjusting to a totally different order of service. Normally you come in and every church is a little different, but you come in, sing a congregational, have a special, have some choir, whatever. All that's gone. All that's gone. And so, well, what do you do? I mean, and so, we're going to tweak it. We're going to play with it. We're going to figure out what works, but we're adding in prayer. We're adding in testimonies. And so we're accustomed to more music in service. And the reality is we'll probably have one special right before I preach. We might have some instrumentals. We might have an instrumental as a special. I'm just going to kind of go service to service, see who's there, see what they can do, see what they got ready. And from service to service, it may differ a little bit. But so we're accustomed to more music, and music's great because it really does I believe, sets the table for the preaching. But we have to adjust to not having as much music as we're used to. And what that means is people need to be willing to speak a little bit more. And sometimes, that's a little tough, but I'm leaning on the congregation to, hey, let's get some prayer requests. Hey, let's get some testimonies. Let's get some people speaking. And of course, you're wearing a mask, so people don't want to talk. And of course, when you're giving your testimony at our church, you come up to the platform, you can take your mask off to give the testimony, okay, but then you put it back on. But sometimes it's hard for people to get into the spiritual mindset. In other words, to get going. It's like, hey, I hear that congregational song. Boom, I'm ready. I'm in. It's church time. Well, we don't have that. And so I'm going to be coming up with some different ideas of what we can do to kind of get people dialed in to get going. But we're adjusting to a different order of service. But that's not all that we're adjusting to. We're adjusting to the fact of testifying, as I mentioned just a second ago, is we need people to get up and testify of what God's been doing. And I understand some people don't like to talk. Others are petrified to get up in front of the church. Look, every church has got the same 3 people that will talk all day long, all right? And that's nice, and we're not unthankful for those 3 people that will testify all day long. But for this thing to work, we're going to need a lot more than the 3 people who will talk all day long. We're going to need a lot of people, at least one person in service to get up and testify of what God's been doing in their life. Hey, we haven't seen something in 2 months. Has God done anything in 2 months? Get up and talk about it. And if he's done nothing, well, at least say how much you're glad to be back, all right? And if you're not even glad to be back, you're there because just tell me my beard looks nice. Or I've been working on this thing for a long time, all right? Whatever. Just get up and say something. And we're going to need that, but we're going to have to adjust to that. And I know that regularly, historically, testimonies have been kind of an infrequent thing that we do periodically, but now they're going to be more incorporated along with prayer. We're going to spend more time in prayer and taking prayer requests like we do on Wednesday nights. We're going to do that on Sunday. We're going to take some prayer requests. We're going to have time in prayer. Why? We got the time, all right? with all the music cut back, that's what we're going to have to adjust to. We got to adjust to new protocol. We got to adjust to new protocol. The ushers bringing you in and dismissing you, and the limitations on fellowship. All those things just don't feel like church, and at least not the way we're used to it. And we have to adjust temporarily. Okay, we have to adjust to these things, and we have to understand that even some of these things are new. There's a lot of new things, all right, and the signing up for services and the distancing from people and just the very almost, sterile environment that's being created there. And, there's a lot of changes. But let me tell you something. You know what you need to do? You need to not dwell on those things. You need to dwell on the things that have not changed. The fact that Jesus Christ is Lord. The fact that He needs to be praised and worshiped. The fact that church is an enjoyable place. See, it took us about halfway through the message for people to lighten up. They kind of get going. Like, man, we had a special and everybody was crickets afterwards. I was like, oh, that's not Lifeline. All right, we got some work to do. And that's, by the way, not being critical of anybody. That's just the reality. And the thing is that I got 2 more services Sunday. We're going to deal with the same thing. Why? People have been out of church for 2 months. And all this stuff, it's like, what's going on? This isn't the church I left. Man, there's not a lot of people here. I'm spread out from everybody. I can't talk to people. I want to give that person a hug. And they're acting like they don't even know me because they're going to stay away. And, it's weird. Okay, so we have to adjust. And we're going to do it. But what you need to do is focus on those things that have not changed. That Jesus Christ is Lord, and that the gospel is going to be preached, and that, there's a few new things, all right? But what we want to focus upon is the Lord and the truths that I've just mentioned, all right? Now, the other thing we have to adjust to, new people. See, God's working. All right, we've got the man, Tom, who brought the backwards Lifeline shirt so you can read it forwards, all right? That's a visitor. Last week we had a first-time visitor. Sunday we got 2 first-time families visiting. God's bringing in some new people. Now let me say this, all right? That's exciting, but church, we need to welcome them, and it just got a whole lot harder. Why? Because you can't mill around the church, all right? You can't walk around. You can't, go, oh, there's a new person. Let me go right up to them. Hi, how are you? Shake their hand. Where are you from? No. You're in your seat. So the people that are near, you're the ones. The ones that sit directly in front or directly behind or maybe the row across, whoever's right near those visitors, it's on you. You, whoever you are. You say, well you're going to look, the seating chart is a jigsaw puzzle, and sometimes my hands are tied, okay? And so, whoever, you see someone you don't know, it's on you. You got to welcome them. You got to make them feel comfortable. I know we have people in the church that are really great at talking and making people feel welcome, and they might be near them, they might not be. And you might be a little bit more quiet. You're going to have to do your part. The Lord has put you in the place, and that might not be normally your strength, but you're about to get tested, okay? Do your part. Greet our visitors. It's necessary. 2 families are visiting Sunday, 11 o'clock service, and so you 11 o'clock people, you better be on your A game of friendliness, okay? Smile through your mask. You better be smiling so big that even through the mask, they can tell you're happy that you're there, okay? And so, we also have to adjust to certain people not being there. We're used to going to church with certain people. Well, right now, only about 2/3 of our church membership is attending a service. Okay, there's about another third that is not, and I'm hopeful that in the coming weeks that they'll come back. But even if they do, when everybody's back, we only have room to fit about 1/3 of the church in each service. So what that means is there's certain people that you're used to being in church with, family members, friends, that you may or may not be in within any given service. Just depends on schedules, availability, seating arrangement. There's a lot of variables there. And so there's going to be some people you want to see, that you're hoping to see, that you might not see right away, and that's an adjustment. How about this? An adjusting to having the kids in service, all right? And you know, our church has had historically to function with children's ministries in order to fit everybody in. Well, right now there are no children's ministries, so we got everybody upstairs, and you know, some of those kids, some of those younger ones need to work on singing in church. Let me say this. I am not upset with a family that brings their kid who doesn't do well in a service. I am not upset by that. Teach the kid how to sit in service, okay? And if you got to take them out, take them out, all right? They're never going to learn till you make them do it, all right? It's just as simple as that. And so I don't mind parents bringing their kids. I don't mind kids acting up. Look, I got 5 kids. I'm used to kids acting up. I don't care about that. It's what you do about it, okay? Who runs the home, the kid or you? Well, we can't do this because Johnny. Oh, whoa, Johnny gave him parent, all right? And don't let your kids run. Yeah, right. Jen just talked about, you know, some kids won't keep their masks on, okay? And if they're under 5, they don't have to, but if they're over 5, they do. And that might be challenging for some of them, all right? Because some of your kids haven't left the house, so they haven't had to wear a mask anywhere, and they're frustrated with that. So listen, you see my point here? A lot of adjustments. And all these things happen at once. In literally just about an hour, boom, 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 boom. And they're all distracting from the reason that you're there. You're bombarded by all these changes. And you know, funny thing, here's the true thing about depression, all right? Depression is not, you know, some medical people do not classify depression as a emotional or psychological disorder, but they actually talk about it being a change disorder. There's some medical professionals that view it as a change disorder, or potentially a change disorder. In other words, what I mean is this, is that some people, they battle depression when changes happen. Well, man, the church is going through a lot of changes, and it was almost like our church was depressed for the first 15 minutes that we were there. Why? Because, well, it is depressing. You used to 120 people in church, and you got 40-something. And you're used to a loving atmosphere, and we're all separated. And we're used to hugging and shaking hands, and now we're, you know, not doing that and putting sanitizer on and wearing gloves, and we're used to singing loud, and we're not singing at all, and we're used to doing all sorts of things, and the only constant is I get up there preaching, and it's like about halfway into the message, like, all right, this is normal. I understand this. I got this. And so, you know, I gave you 8 or 9 major changes. I'm sure if I could sit down and think about them more, because each one of those changes have subsets to them. So there's really like 20 to 30 different things that people are processing mentally, and all of that has the potential to detract from why you're there, which is Jesus. So friend, I want to encourage you. You can do this. Just don't worry about, get your expectations and set them aside, and just come to worship the Lord, come to serve the Lord, all right? And don't dwell on all the different things, because here's the thing I want you to remember. All these changes, they're temporary, all right? They're not going to last forever. Now you say, well, how long are they going to last? I don't know, all right? I'll say this, though. And this goes to any of our Lifeline people. If you're sitting at home waiting for life to get back to normal before you come out, I'll see you in about 1.5 years, all right? If you're just sitting at home waiting for everything to get perfect before you go anywhere, be about 1.5 years. And if that's what you want to do, go right ahead. I don't think you're going to be doing well spiritually when it's all said and done. I think you're going to be a mess. Fact is, 2 months out, I think you might be already getting there. And you need the house of the Lord, and it's different for every person, and I'm just giving you my thoughts on that. But you know, some people do better than others, okay? But how long? How long? All right. Well, I'm just not, man. It's just not what I'm used to. Well, it's not what anybody's used to, okay? But you make do with what you got. You know, we don't have a big building, all right? We got a small, man. It's like, my word. You know, we got one of the biggest churches in the greater Boston area, membership-wise, and we got the smallest building. And it's like, how does that work? But you know what? God got this all figured out. So we just got to come to worship Him and praise Him. It's going to take some getting used to, but we can do it. Why? Because through Christ, He can strengthen us to do all things. And I'm looking forward to it. Listen, church, looking forward to seeing you on Sunday. Lord bless you. We still have some Sunday night spots open. Pretty full on Sunday morning. Maybe one or two more people in the 9 a.m. service. 11 a.m. looks pretty full. Might be able to move some folks around. I got a few. I definitely have some spots open Sunday night. So hope to see you. Lord bless you. Have a great evening.